This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently. That's okay. Things are gonna be okay.
We're a couple weeks out from Renegades now, and I would say that the PvP population has pretty much bottomed out, and most people after reading the weekly Bungie post and the weapon tuning preview are either frustrated or genuinely they just don't care anymore, which I think is really fair. I can understand that things at Bungie are really difficult right now. They have a collaborative expansion upcoming that they pretty much have to nail as best they possibly can. They're under immense pressure from players, Sony, Disney, and themselves. I think it's really important, however, to discuss how people might feel led on, and why they might feel that way. To put things into context, the most recent time we genuinely had a consistent direction for PvP was with Checkmate and the Into the Light update, when we had a PvP strike team. And what made people really hang on was that they genuinely recognized so many key pain points and explained to us their specific goals that they had in mind. They included the path in which they planned to take to achieve them. It really felt like a genuine cohesive vision and a true return to form. So you might be wondering, Rumi, what really was that vision? Well, the strike team had three main goals they wanted to focus on. Essentially, they wanted to help players more clearly understand the sequence of events that led to their death, so they could more easily learn how to improve. They wanted to alter the weapons sandbox to account for the increased skill of the average player base by reducing the amount of high reward, low risk options. They also wanted to encourage primary weapon mastery to be an aspirational pursuit for players. Now, what's pretty interesting is that the first one almost sounds really similar to the player agency video I just made. That's because it kind of is. It boils down to them explaining that the sandbox has gotten much stronger, abilities are much more prevalent, the ability for people to clearly understand what's happening to them has genuinely suffered, that it's more and more common for a player to be killed so fast, it feels insolent, and there's no way for people to react. With so many different things happening at once, it's virtually impossible to determine the events that actually led to your death. When a defeated player has difficulty understanding how they were defeated, it makes them feel like there was nothing they could have actually done. This also encourages players to try and make kills as fast as unrelatable as possible, hence why people lean into build crafting, essentially. Because they want to avoid being the recipient of these things, by doing it themselves. This also leads to other sandbox things that, when they don't feed into that, they become much less desirable. This continues on. As you can see, they're discussing how the high ease of use paired with the growing skill level means things are way too forgiving. It leads to a compression of the skill gap, especially at the high end. They break this down as a risk-reward problem. They even discuss that instead of just things that reward the attacker, they punish the targets themselves. They use explosive payload and wish and a wall hack series as examples. But other things you could think of is ACD feedbacks, which I guess pretty much punishes anyone for mailing the other person. So then they provide us with solutions. They raise the health values to low lethality of things so they could tune things much finer. They nerfed ability cooldowns. They buffed some stuff around so that it still felt pretty normal, making sure supers would one hit. They adjusted primary weapons looking at the forgiveness levels. And truth be told, this really wasn't some surgery to completely fix the Crucible. And honestly, it just didn't. But what it did do is it kind of helped people see that they had an idea of what they were doing, how they wanted things to be, and how they'd honestly achieve those things. And to me, that was really all I wanted as a player. So what happened? Well, the final shape dropped and it completely nuked a lot of the ability balance because of Prismatic. Knucklehead Radar was also extremely problematic. We had smoke bombs that were extremely overtuned for no apparent reason. They were actual just nukes. We had solar nades that got buffed for no reason. Diamond lances that you could get from just knockout punches. Infinite Warlock Arc Melee Slam, and so much more. They did try to address these relatively fast, and throughout Echoes, it wasn't too bad. It felt like something was off that this even shipped like this, but they were still doing stuff. we kept moving. We continued through Echoes into Revenant, which had its own problems that slowly got addressed and changed. But after a few weeks, when the sandbox was in a pretty good state, honestly, heresy happened. Bungie added On the Prowl, which punished players just for dying or being near someone who did die. And it also made the invis uptime even more absurd. They added Redrix, the new comp weapon, which was completely and utterly broken. Hipfire Radiant Dance Machines, which was so overtuned, it was actually unbelievable that they even shipped like that. Now, Bungie hasn't been the fastest at addressing things, but they did try to at least disable some of the most broken things. For example, the last word combination with RDMs. It honestly really wasn't enough. And then Redrix got the infamous handling nerf where it basically didn't do anything to the gun at all. Inquisitor returned and Slug sort of resurfaced in popularity, and the body shot slug damage reared its really ugly head all over again, where it was just extremely problematic and feels awful to play against. Heresy had a couple more patches, but honestly nothing that really moved the needle, and so we kind of took that sandbox straight into the Edge of Fate. Edge of Fate brought us insane stat changes, like weapon stat last Thursday 2 bursting, melee slot builds. The ammo meter was re-implemented, so they decided to also add an infinite, let me just say this again, infinite ammo primary shotgun that can 2-tap. They made it so that going flawless basically didn't matter. Adepts were replaced with tiered weapons, and they were based on your light level, not your actual performance. So someone going 7-0 can have actually worse loot than someone who goes 0-7 because their light level is different. It was completely backwards. There has been some patches, but honestly nothing really moves the needle. Ash and Iron finally comes around, they present a couple things, and then DMG. Again, no hate towards DMG directly at all, but he discussed the new game's patching style as being quote-unquote non-critical, and also says we're getting a roadmap, which, is exciting because we haven't really had any direction for months at this point. And, okay, so he discussed that there's going to be trials discussions, flawless discussions, competitive and casual play discussions, sandbox balance, etc. And that's all going to come with the roadmap. So people are like, oh, okay, cool. I guess we could wait for that. But I gotta be honest. I really gotta be honest. It's not been great for PvP, but I guess it's cool they have information coming, right? But then it just never comes. The fun part is the roadmap isn't actually coming out until next year. I'm not joking. We are finally told this after an entire, how many months delay? People waited genuinely months for this info, but it just never came. We got more empty promises. It is absolutely no wonder that people are genuinely frustrated or just entirely done with this game. They get absolutely baited by bizarre communication over and over again. I don't blame DMG or Bungie completely, but I think they are super responsible for having this mentality of wanting their cake and to eat it too. If you haven't got anything to actually say, maybe we shouldn't pretend that you do, because that just makes people feel really bad. Player trust in Bungie has been completely nuked, and things like this really don't help. If you want people to be excited about PvP, prove you care. Empty words just mean nothing, and you cannot be surprised that people are frustrated, burnt out, and genuinely apathetic towards you. When you show time and time again, you just let things fester. Anyway, that's the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed. Either way, I'll be there for Renegades, and I hope we can enjoy it together. See ya.